Hey guys, it's Lauren. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be doing the chronic illness and disability tag, first created by Megan McCarthy. If you need any help with writing or refilling your creative well, you've come to the right place, as I am a blind author. If you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for future videos. And if you're new, welcome to the channel. So the first question asks, do you have a chronic illness or disability? Do you have multiple ones? And I'll leave a link to the video describing my visual impairment because it actually ties together two different types of disabilities together. Right? Lucky me! But I guess I'll give you what it is basically in a nutshell. It is a rare recessive disorder called Bardet-Biedl syndrome, and it affects the person mentally, physically, and hence which causes, in most cases, some form of visual impairment. And for me, it was retinitis pigmentosa. So how RP works is that it can cause night blindness, tunnel vision, low depth perception, and basically slowly over time take away low vision that you have. Hence why right now I am in the core program at Blind Industries in Harrisville, Maryland, to try and get better with blind skills so I can be more independent and confident with my impairment. So some other disabilities that I struggle with are mental. Technically I've been diagnosed with depression and anxiety, but I feel like there's nothing wrong with seeing a therapist to help you, because I think it is good to have someone to talk to, but you just need to find what works best for you. And this actually ties into one of the other questions I'll get to later, that is about self-care. And another, I guess, chronic illness that I discovered last year is thanks to the BBS, the Bardet-Biedl syndrome, that it causes an increase in testosterone, and it basically tricked my body into thinking that there was more testosterone in my body than what's normal for women, and it caused me to have alopecia, which causes hair either on your scalp or anywhere on your body to thin and eventually fall out. And I don't know if you can see it, but I have some right here in the front. And I have an appointment with a dermatologist later in the month to see if there's any other treatments. And yeah, that definitely ties into depression and how you see yourself, because you want to feel good about yourself and you want to feel attractive about yourself, and yeah, there are definitely some days where it's like, I don't even want to go outside because of it. So the next question is, have you been diagnosed with your chronic illness or disability? For how long? I mean, for the visual impairment, I was definitely born with it. I wasn't diagnosed with it until I was 5.
Yep.
Because my parents didn't know what actually had caused it, because my 2 older sisters were fortunate enough to not have visual impairment, and so I don't think it's something that my parents knew to look for.
Well, in their defense, they thought it was a phase we were going through, and that we grew out of it. And it was because of our maternal grandmother, that's like, okay, something's definitely wrong, you need them tested, that definitely found out we had it.
Right. And I think the depression, anxiety is something I've always had. I think it intensified since puberty, and again, it's something that I have been struggling with, kind of been on like my own journey of what works best for me, because the few times I did try to see professional clinical help, they wanted to put me on medication.
They were the drugs.
No, don't give me the drug. And I just turn into a... Wow, I just like hibernate and don't do anything. Well, I turn into a sloth. There we go. Look at another animal for it. And like I said, with the alopecia, I think that happened since puberty, but I haven't visibly noticed it since the last, I'd say the 4 years have gotten a lot worse. To the point where I had to consider finding ways to covering it up, or if there is no medical way to treat it, eventually looking at wigs, or as another brave YouTuber, Stephanie, God, I can't remember her last name, I'll link her channel. She said that if it got to the point where I'm at, she was going to shave her head, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think I could be that brave. The next question asks, what healthy coping skills have you learned from your disability? And definitely proud to say that people think that I'm a goof for the life of the party. Because you definitely need humor to get through life, especially when your vision is progressively getting worse. Like, you kind of just have to accept where you're at and learn to see things from a different perspective. I like to saying that people that are blind can't do things, they just do things differently. And when it comes to the depression and anxiety, I have learned to find time for myself and do things that I enjoy by myself, even if, you know, other people might see it as being boring or they don't have an interest in it. But I mean, that's the best thing about self-care, is you kind of have to do what's best for you, and that taking one day at a time, because trying to focus on the past, but also like taking too much emphasis on the future and what's to come can be overwhelming. You know, I think it's good to just breathe, take a step back, and then focus on that one day and think of, okay, this is what I got accomplished today, out of your like to-do list or your doing list of things that you got accomplished. Because for some people that deal with depression and anxiety, like just getting out of bed is like an achievement. And a lot of people take that for granted. They don't see that as being a big milestone, but it's very easy when you're suffering from mental illness to think like, I don't have to get up today, I can just lay in bed all day and then nothing gets done. Next question is, do you apply your experiences to your writing? For a lot of the characters that I write for and stories that me and Nicole write together, that I put a lot of my personality into my character.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think I've actually written a character that suffers from depression, anxiety, or even a character that's blind.
No, but you do write a lot of characters that have self-doubt or question if what they're doing is actually what they should be doing.
Like, low self-esteem in themselves. And that stems from depression. So yeah, I didn't think of it that way. But we have an upcoming project that we want to tackle a character that's blind. And I think that's a good challenge for me and Nicole, because it can be really, really daunting and overwhelming to try and inject things that you struggle with into a character. Because you kind of have to take it deeper than maybe the experience itself, so that it reads more relatable on the page of like what happened. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. You're saying that it's harder to have it displayed as you want it without tapping into the negative stereotypes or what society thinks of them that's either false or dismissed.
Yeah, but also too, like, if you want to add that into your story, that can be triggering depending on
Oh, yeah.
the negative experiences that you had growing up with that disability too. I think personally that's why I haven't tapped into it yet. The next question asks, how does your chronic illness or disability affect your writing routine? I have a routine?
Yeah, it's called coffee music.
Yay! I mean, I don't think I have a writing routine per se. I try to just write when I can find time in the day, but I get what the question's asking, and I think if I'm having a bad mental health day, I won't feel motivated to write. Music and coffee does help pull me out of that slump, but I think those are days where I'm just staring at the page and I'm like, what do I write? And then I just end up going away from that, taking a step back, and either like baking something with Nicole or playing a video game, reading, and then I come back to it, and it's like, yeah, inspiration! So the next question asks, how does your chronic illness or disability impact your characters, your writing, topics, etc.? And I had to think about the answer, because at first I kind of already touched on it a little bit, of a upcoming writing project of writing about a character that's blind, and then Nicole had the brilliant idea of explaining that when you're working on a new project, how when you're trying to describe either like what the character looks like, or the scenery, or even just trying to research an area that you're trying to write about, like hey, like Atlanta, you have to do a lot of research, especially either videos where people are describing it, or just, websites where they're going more in detail about what the physical attributes are of that thing, because as a blind person, some people only see colors, some people just see light and shadow, so they can't make out certain details. And also for myself, I forget what it's called, but basically I don't really have a sense of smell. So a lot of times I'll have to research what things smell like, so that way I can interject that sense into my writing.
Right. Another thing is, when it comes to your characters, a lot of times you write your characters having either being or emotional or sensitive to things around them.
Yeah, because that's another thing that can happen for people with disabilities, is that they can be easily overstimulated by things.
Like me.
Well, I think that's true for people that suffer from mental disability too. They're overstimulated by things around them, and they have a hard time focusing, or they have a hard time interacting with those around them, because in a way they're distracted by the other senses. So the next question asks, what about your chronic illness or disability that has surprised you? And at first I'm like, I don't have an answer. But I guess for me, a good question. I have an answer.
Do you?
That I am capable more than I give myself credit for.
Aww.
I think it's easy to go into this mindset of where you doubt yourself, and especially when society has either low expectations of you based on your disability or none at all, and it's like an uphill battle to combat against them and to prove them wrong. I guess another thing that surprises me is being adaptable and willing to be a cheerleader for myself and other people. It's definitely easier being a cheerleader for others than myself, but that's something I'm working on. That I want to interject more positivity into the world, because there's a lot of negativity in the world around us. So the next question asks, how did your family react? And I think it kind of goes hand in hand. I think with the visual impairment aspect of it, my family, except for Nicole, still kind of acts like there are a lot of things that I can't do, and I feel like on a daily basis I have to prove them wrong and demonstrate that I am capable of being independent and doing things that any other person with sight could do, just doing it differently. And I think for the mental illness side of it, I don't really know how to answer the question. I don't want to say it doesn't seem like they don't care, but they kind of react to it in a sense that it's non-existent.
So pretty much like an ostrich sitting around the stand. If they don't see it, it doesn't exist.
Right? And I think with the alopecia, it's been really, really hard. My older sister did try to recommend the idea of getting wigs, which are really expensive. So I don't know if financially that's something I want to pursue. I mean, I guess unless there's not a cure for it. I don't know. Science has come a long way. There could be a cure out there, I just don't know it. And I feel like that's just like putting a band-aid on it. Just putting a wig and covering it up. Next question asks, what do you celebrate about your chronic illness or disability? So, I don't feel like there's ways that I celebrate it. I do think that I try to look for other people in the creative communities that have disabilities, because I feel like there's a way that they can relate to me that others cannot. Yeah, I feel like I'm struggling to answer this question because I can't figure out an answer. I'm just gonna say what Nicole said, because even though I think it's bragging, that you can go to an amusement park and go to guest services and show them that you're disabled, and they give you like basically a fast pass. You get to go to the front of the lines. I don't know, I feel like there are places that are trying to get away with that because they think it's unfair. But I'm like, give me the perk! Give me!
I mean, they also have conventions too. You sit in the seats that are reserved for VIPs and paparazzi.
Or the press.
Yeah, being demonstrating for the word.
The press and those that are deaf and hard of hearing that require an interpreter. So, the last question asks, what's your best form of self-care? And
There's a list.
There is a list. Coffee. Well, that's not really self-care, that's a necessity. Video games. Coloring on my phone. Reading. Doing YouTube's fun.
Getting pampered.
Going to the spa. I do need to get my nails done because they're gross. Oh yeah, all types of goodies that are good for you mentally and physically to make you happy. So I hope you guys found the answers to the tag insightful. Like I said, go check out Megan McCarthy's channel. She'll have her video doing the tag and the playlist for all the other awesome people that did the tag, as well as myself. And I promise that the next video will be a little more happier and joyful. As always, I hope you guys like the channel. Subscribe for future videos and live stream. They're gonna come back eventually, just trying to work out the time. And I wanted to remind you guys that the fantasy Anthology realm of Enchantments is still open for submission. That will be until April of 2022. And looking for art, song, poem, and short story featuring magic and mythical creatures. And I will have the link to that announcement video that has even more detail in the description below. Until next time, find a way to be creative, and I hope you have an awesome day.